Hello gamers and welcome to Game Warp. I'm Elwood
I'm Kim.
and this is our featured review for Seasons After Fall. Seasons After Fall is a atmospheric platformer from the indie studio Swing Swing Submarine, and it sees you playing as the sprite-like creature known as Seed, who possesses the body of a wild fox and goes on a journey across this mythical land to collect the powers of the four seasons. Now, this is a game which Kim brought to the table because this is the sort of weird games that she likes. But I mean, Kim, what appealed to you about Seasons After Fall?
I guess it's the art. A lot of times I get attracted to games because of art. The same applies to Song of the Deep, which surprisingly I can draw a lot of parallels with this one to that one. It's kind of like Song of the Deep without the maps. That's
Yeah.
how I would describe this one. Seasons After Fall is visually stunning. Like, it is hand-drawn art. This fox is super cute. It's done really well. Everything from the environment and the different seasons and the color palette. It's all very attractive to look at.
Yeah, I mean, this is a universe that, as you said, Ray, this is all hand-drawn, so it looks like you're playing inside an actual painting or like an anime. It doesn't feel like a traditional sort of game when you look at it. And it looks absolutely beautiful. And the closest I could draw comparisons to, other than Song of the Deep, would be if we were to like look at the Ori games.
Yeah.
And certainly the world this is set in, they seem to be governed by very, very similar sort of logic. I mean, this is a world of magic and nature.
Mhm.
And the fact that as your fox, you pick up the powers of the different seasons. So winter allows you to freeze things, autumn allows you to create gusts and wind, and slight spring you can use to create rain, so that you can raise water levels. So each of the four different seasons you will learn to master, and they're each introduced to you very slowly. So you get to meet each of the four guardians. Each of these different seasons have their own sort of spirit animal to represent them. This lies one of my big frustrations with the game, first off, in the fact that there is no danger in this game. This is a world where it is you as a fox bounding from one location to the other, and while when we start doing the winter sections, it's like, oh, this guardian doesn't like company, and you expect, oh, we're going to have like a bit of a boss battle, and suddenly as you're going closer to his domain, he appears and he knocks the log that you're traveling through down, and you think, oh, we're going to have a bit of a boss battle or something, but no, you basically find him and he gives you the winter powers, and then you're sent on your way, and that's it. There's no more to it.
But I argue that like it's not like Seasons After Fall is for people who aren't exactly, I guess it's not for action. It's not considered an action game. It's really just a platformer, an exploration platformer. So you really just go around and you watch the environment and you watch like the story unfold itself. Like, it's not dangerous, I guess, but at the same time, there's like a lot of puzzles. There's a lot of like little things that you need to solve and get to point A to point B. It's not, I guess it's not exciting as well because I do know that you like more action-based games. So like something with a lot more than just wandering around, solving puzzles and jumping from platform to platform.
It's not so much the lack of action in this game, it's just the fact that any element of danger may have kept me more awake at times, because at the times, yes, it's very beautiful and it's very absorbing style gameplay that the game has, but at the same time, I just felt myself wanting something more. It's like, yes, I'm going to go and I'm going to essentially do the same thing. And it was basically when you learn the seasons, such as how to different seasons. So, for example,
But it does get kind of tricky as the game goes along, mostly because I'd have to describe the game into like three parts, where there are three big objectives. Each one requires doing four smaller objectives, which involves the seasons. So, I mean, that's where I think this game excels at, is that they know when to kind of give you an atmosphere change, an environment change, and like the objectives are fairly the same. I mean, there are certain parts where, there's one where you collect parts, and there's one where you need to, like, get certain things connected, and different puzzles for different seasons to make it, like, work. to solve through that area. And then you have like, you know, our first part where it's like the introductory level where we get all our 4 seasons one by one and we get to learn the skills. And the puzzles get a lot more complex as you sit there and you're like, there are some puzzles which I really genuinely sat there and was like, oh my god, I can't figure out where this is. Is it a platforming issue? And then you get like these little teleporter things which gets you the unreachable parts. The game is, there's a lot of elements to it, and I really like the fact that they do all these things. It is great as a very soothing experience, mostly because I really also do like the music. The soundtrack, like, it seems like they have a different soundtrack for different parts of the game as you enter into different ones. And, you know, there's also like these specials that you collect, I guess, and if you collect all of them, you get the true ending, as they call it. If not, you get normal. And, like, these things are dreams. So you have to find these places where your fox can sleep at a certain part of the game. And they enter into a world which is kind of like not dangerous, but I guess it's really just like you get a little bit more of the backstory of these characters that you see.
The actual narration is a nice touch to the game. It adds the sort of mythical feel. At the same time, when this game starts, you obviously start off as your seed or your little glowing firefly-like sprite. And you basically have to rise up from the ground, and there's no instructions on where you have to go. There's no details on what happens if you actually hit one of these other sprites. It felt like, oh, what am I supposed to be doing here? And it was a little off-putting. And obviously, once you get into the body of your fox, and you actually learn that it could be any animal that you could possess, but it just happens it's a fox. So
yeah,
this fox is the unwilling participant in your story. And I felt it was a real good metaphor, really, for the game itself, because at times it did feel like you were in someone else's story rather than a story you were living through. You were sort of very much just going through the motions. It was sort of like, oh, travel to this location, now travel to this location, and solve a couple of puzzles along the way. And it just felt, as I said before, it just felt like I was needing more. And it's falling somewhere between being like a walking simulator, so something like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and like a Metroidvania game. So, as we mentioned already, it's like Song of the Deep. It falls somewhere between those two, and this is going to be a game which I think is going to be a very sort of specific experience. I don't think it's going to appeal to everyone, but I think there's going to be that few that it will appeal to greatly.
Because, like, I think what Seasons of the Fall does is that it's very like, obviously you started the Ori games, and I'm about to start it. But so I can't really compare to it. But I feel like this Seasons After Fall was deemed kind of like a spiritual successor to that. I'm sure it's not as polished in many ways, because that game was had like just huge appeal, and it had like amazing storytelling and stuff. This story was much slower, like much slower. They do have a lot of dialogue, and I like the fact that, you know, our fox actually eventually the emotional part is that, I guess, as the first part ends, our fox turns into just like a soul and turns into a spirit that we need to run around. And I really like that touch where, you know, the question in the end was that you always return back, and you kept wondering whether your soul was ever going to be bonded back to a physical body. That's a really nice touch to it. But I think that in terms of comparing to Song of the Deep, the only thing I really wanted this game to have was a map.
Yeah.
It was like, I literally wanted to like sit down, and I was starting to regret the decision that I was like, this game needs a map. At a certain point, like after the first part, you have a really good idea which direction you need to go to open up whichever guardian, and the game's flexible that way. It doesn't matter in what order you do it, except the beginning where they're like, oh, you need to go to winter, you need to go to fall, you need to go wherever, and then you need to figure out where it is. But in general, like when the second 2 sections, you can pretty much do things out of order, and you can do things in a different way. And me, I did it in like the stupid way, because there was really no guidance. You just saw like short cutscenes, and you were like, I have no idea where that is, and I don't know what happened. What am I looking for there, you know? And then I just kind of stumble into the situation, and I'd solve this puzzle, or I solve half of one puzzle, and then realize, oh yeah, near the end of the game, I was like, this is the order I should have done it, instead of that dumb way where I got lost everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that's the most frustrating, is that you can't throw someone into a game. And it's okay that, you know, for developers to be like, well, this is like, not holding your hand. This is for you to explore. But by the time I get to the third section where the story has developed to a certain level, I'm just trying to get to the finale of this part and really like get through this meaningless wandering around areas that I'm turning around over and over again just feels repetitive and feels just such a grueling experience to get through. And I remember there was one part where I was just running around and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I was trying to not use like a walkthrough because I wanted to do this by myself, but it was just so hard to do because at that point I was starting to really like detach. Like the story had a hold on me mostly because I think I really liked the character of the fox and just the direction the story was taking. Although it was kind of predictable, like by the time you got to that area, you kind of had a good idea where they were heading with the story. And the ending is also like, oh, everybody, I think a lot of people said it was like a twist ending, and I was like, I don't really think that was a twist ending.
Yeah.
I don't even think, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I haven't gotten the true ending, and I already kind of know what the true ending will be. And it's, obviously, like, I'm not going to reveal and spoil the ending for anybody, but, like, it's fairly obvious where the story is going. And I think that that's also, like, the lack of mystery as the story progresses kind of makes us, and like, just how, like, the lack of a map getting lost and just really detaches you because it gets frustrating. You don't know what to do. You're just wandering around aimlessly, and you're like, I don't even know if I'm in the right area.
Yeah.
You see the cutscene and you're just like, well, that's just a bunch of trees. And I'm like, yeah, this area has this tree, but then that area extends like for 3 more areas with like 4 extensions that go up and down, and it's just like a mess. And, deep down in me is like, I want this game to be good, but I also want to like make a map and be like, this is the map for people who future want to play this game, where, this, I'll hide all this stuff that you need to find and where they are, but like, this is all the paths, and that I crave to find that map. Like for once I did miss Song of the Deep, where there was a map I could open and it would just gloriously appear in front of me as it unveiled itself.
Yeah. I think the problem is that you spend like the first 4 or 5 hours playing the game, and it's very much on rails. While it gives this impression of freedom to it, you're pretty much on rails for the most part. You know which direction you're supposed to go, and
the hard part in this is that it is on rails, but at the same time, you can't even find a walkthrough because it's so flexible. Say like you head into certain areas, you have to know the achievement you're looking for in order to be able to find even a walkthrough if you get lost. And that was one of the most challenging parts, is that you have to flip through, like, I went through looking for the walkthrough, and I didn't know what I was looking for.
I mean, there's some nice touches. I mean, there's these bugs that you certainly have to learn to manipulate during the early parts, and it basically, the motion of having your fox essentially chase these bugs, I thought was like a really nice touch. So the actual fox movement, how it jumps, how it moves, and how it achieves things are all really nice, because they got it's a possessed fox, but at the same time it's got a real sort of natural sort of movement to it. And yeah, I mean, in many ways I expect, what can we call this? I mean, mythical fox simulator, I guess, would be another way of describing this game. It's I don't know, I just felt that there was something missing. I just keep coming back to that point, that there's just something missing to it. And I mean, yes, we obviously compare this as like being a spiritual successor to Ori, and while this game might not have the same sort of high impact art style that Ori has, it's still a very distinctive art style that's with this game. I think the only thing that Ori does differently that this game doesn't is the fact that Ori provides elements of combat and, an element of danger, which is really missing from this game. This game is more about enjoying the environment and exploration, and soaking up the story. So I guess it is in many ways more like Everybody's Gone to Rapture, where it was essentially us just walking from point A to point B and picking up these fragments of story as we went along, and that's essentially what we get here.
I do agree with you that it is something like a walking simulator, but I do like the fact that this game does add a lot of puzzles, and it's very frequent. Like there are a lot of puzzles just to get through one area from one platform to the next sometimes, and just trying to figure out what season to use in order to do certain things. And I like the fact that that they really do. Although it is a little slow, I would have liked them to kind of maybe shrink the map a little and still get all their seasons in and really take the time to they let you take the time to learn the controls. As you get from one control, you get another guardian, you get second season, and then the third, fourth, and then you learn how to manipulate it. And the rest of the two sections is really about opening the new areas, finding the new areas, because now you have all these skills and you can reach these areas that you weren't able to before, while having like little different mechanics. You start seeing like there's still a lot of new things to see throughout the game, and I think that I appreciated that a lot. I mean, like you got these little critters that would like in a certain season will grow out of the ground, and sometimes they'll grow into different like they'll grow into like a platform or a mushroom or something like that.
Yeah.
And I find that really smart. I think the game is, Seasons After Fall is really polished. There's a lot of stuff there, that it's very pretty, and it's just so sad when you have a game that has so much, and even the voice acting was good, and there was decent story. It just needed to pick up its pace and like just add that extra map mechanic. But at this point, I think it's like I don't think they're gonna do it because it's already been out for like over a year, and it's already been ported to the consoles as well. So I don't feel like if it was Swing Swing Submarine, they just move on to the next thing. But I feel like something like this is very important, because you don't want your players to get detached, to get so frustrated that, this is not a game where, like, if I got frustrated because of, like, a combat that I couldn't achieve, then that's on me, But when I'm getting lost because I'm seeing the same scenery, although it's super pretty and it's, like, the same scenery, it's very annoying. Like, it's not even my problem. It's just because, like, I missed, like, one little hole somewhere, and you can't maneuver, you can't move your camera, you can't do those things. So if I jump, I have to jump and be like, yeah, let's hope this isn't death,
Yeah, I think for myself, I mean, this is why we're obviously saying that Swing Swing Submarine are probably going to go off to do the next thing after this. I mean, I appreciate what they've obviously done with this game, and I'm always appreciate when we have independent companies trying to do something different, because this game is trying to do something different. Mm-hmm. It's offering us not just another something that we would get with just another mainstream title, just like we're a smaller team. So there's definitely something new and different being done here. The problems that come with it, though, aren't so much with the game design, it's just with the elements within the game, such as the puzzle sections. There's so many times you've just felt, oh, I'm just doing the same puzzles again. Oh, you just give me a different twist on the same puzzle. And the least said about those bloody Firefly sections, the better, really. But, I mean, this is, yeah, if you're playing this in, like, 2-hour blocks, then it doesn't become too much of a game. If you're playing this, like, for the long haul, if you're, like, trying to do this in one sitting, I mean, this is only about 6 to 8 hours of gameplay that it would take to beat this game. I can see it quickly becoming kind of a hollow experience, but if you're playing it in those smaller chunks, then you can kind of get past the fact that you're doing the same thing over and over again. And while the game obviously has some variety there, so it's not as obvious like with Song of the Deep with those darn tower building sections constantly, it just felt like there's too much repetition, and at times it just felt like, oh, I'm just doing the same thing again, even though the puzzles are designed in such a way so that it does constantly provide this flow, which was certainly appreciated, rather than just, oh, I've hit this wall where I'm now going to be stuck till I solve this puzzle. And even if you miss a jump, for example, it normally only takes a couple of minutes, like a minute or so, until you're back at the position you were to take that jump again. So that was certainly appreciated. It wasn't like punishing you for like missing a jump by a fraction of a pixel or whatever. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, you know what? I agree with you. Like, I don't have a problem with the puzzles. I think the puzzles were actually very clever, and as the game progressed, it had enough variety and repetition balance that worked really well. I thought it was okay. I thought it was like, it was clever enough for me, I think. But the only thing, like, what I agree with is that this game is like a companion piece. It's a really nice companion piece because I think why I enjoyed it so much was because I've been playing really action heavy games and like really stressful action heavy games. So you have like Little Nightmares. I love the game to death. And I actually went back and did an achievement run, which was our last month's game, obviously. And it's a very dark game. And, you go into something like I'm also playing Mortal Kombat X, and that's action and death and blood and gore. And then, in between, I'm playing this cute little game where, you're just running around calmly, and it's like, you got orchestra music in the background, and it's so soothing, it's so pretty, there's no danger, no one's gonna come and kill you. And it's I guess this is what it is you made a really good point, is this is a companion game. This is a game you play when you need to take a break from the crazy gun shooting and the crazy jumping from one cliff to another where with the danger impeding and stuff like that.
I think
So
not so much. Yeah, not so much even like your usual gaming. Just if you've had a crappy day at work,
yeah.
when you've had to deal with assholes on the phone all day or whatever you choose to do for your chosen career, you can like put this in and escape and pretend to be like a mythical
Yeah.
fox for an hour or so.
Yeah, I think so. Like, this is a relaxing piece. This is a relaxing game to play. I think it's for the people who do enjoy something that's a little calmer, a little slower, and, need that little break with, like, just a little bit of brain power to get through the puzzles. And plus, like, it's super nice to look at. So, I mean, I think at this point, we're ready to give the score. We've covered almost all the aspects, I believe.
Yeah.
What would you give it as a grade, like, as a score? Well,
I'm going to give this game 3 out of 5. I think there's definitely a lot of elements I enjoyed. At the same time, there's a lot of elements I didn't enjoy about this game. We obviously mentioned already there are other games that essentially do the same thing, but with that added element of danger, so you could look at this and essentially get, if you wanted those elements of danger, you could go off and play Ori, or if you're a complete sadist, you could go off and play Rain World, and essentially have this the similar sort of experience. But it's hard to dismiss this game because, as I said, it is so beautiful to look at. It's got a distinct art style and certainly a unique play style as well to it. This is just a game where you have to accept that it's been designed not to play. It's designed more of a distraction from life. It's not about challenging and overcoming odds. This is just like a fun little distraction. I think if you view it in these sort of terms, then it is quite enjoyable. Even though there's the lack of any element of danger to sort of take away from it slightly.
yeah, I agree. I would give it a little higher. I think just from our discussion, I had less of a problem with a lot of things. So, I mean, I give it a 3.5. I can't give it a 4 just because the whole not having a map would drop it a whole point for me. That part really, really got me. But I also feel like the story could have been a little bit more engaging.
Yeah.
A little bit more like invested, where I felt like I connected a little bit more with the fox, which I didn't. I didn't really feel like, I thought it was super cute, but I didn't really have any feels or anything for it. It didn't really touch my heart or tug any heartstrings or whatever.
So,
Yeah. So 3.5 it is for me.
I mean, if they were to obviously do a Seasons After Fall 2, I mean, obviously we mentioned already about the map. What else would you like to see added to this game? I mean, would you prefer like a different animal, or play like a friendly hedgehog or a grizzly bear? Or
Well, I honestly don't think the animal makes a difference, right? Because, I mean, the fox doesn't do anything particularly fox-like, except for being able to jump huge gaps and, up cliffs and stuff, right? I don't really think any other, I mean, the only way they could go right now at this point would be to get an animal. If they were to change the animal, it'd be like a whale or something that can go into the water or something, like do water levels. Like a water adventure, but that would be like Song of the Deep. So I really don't know, like, how how they would improve on that. I do know that Swing Swing Submarine is working on, like, is about to announce their new project.
Okay.
But I don't know what they're doing. I don't think it would be another Seasons After Fall at this point. I mean, Seasons After Fall 2 doesn't, as much as it might be an intriguing idea, I feel like this is a pretty self-contained game. The only thing they might expand on is, like, the future of the seed.
Yeah.
Because, the ending gives it a fairly decent ending where, there could be a future to it if they really wanted to. And it would be another aspect of maybe the journey of what this is.
So there you have it. There's our thoughts on Seasons After Fall. It is, of course, our featured game for June. If you wish to pick it up, it is available now on both PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. As I said, this may be one that's obviously worth discovering for yourself, especially if you're looking for something a little more different than your current gameplay.
Mm-hmm. So this wraps up this episode. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Head over to our home base, thatmomentin.com, to read our gaming reviews. To get gaming news and releases every single day, you can follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at GameWarp Podcast. Also, we have a Twitch channel where we stream on our own schedule, where you can also find the announcements on Facebook and Twitter. And you can follow us and get the notifications. The handle is GameWarp Podcast. We also recently started an Instagram account where we share our gaming obsessions and what we are currently playing and random gaming thoughts. That is also GameWarp Podcast as our handle. So till next time, bye!